this is going to be all in English. I apologize that I can speak Serbian probably. I think so, I don't know. But it's going to be in English, and again, English is not going to be perfect too, so good luck. Anyway. So my name is Nikola Milošević. I'm principal product designer, product owner. I work now in Autodesk for the last 4.5 years. Like a lot of people don't even get what does this mean. I didn't know for the first few years exactly what I'm going to do. But previously, I was working, last 20 years I was working in industry, like working different kind of positions, from studios from Framestore in England, Sony Imageworks in Vancouver, and different studios in Toronto where I'm actually living right now. Yes, I did work in Belgrade, working different, for the social channel. I did a lot of stuff like, I don't know, for the B92 and those kind of things. And anyway, actually did something for your daughter too. Yeah, okay. And that was a medical thing, if I remember, yeah? Anyway. So yeah, this is where I am. So I'm pretty much like I worked in color management. That was my first assignment in the Autodesk, and then we remapped to Hypershade, so all the new stuff is Hypershade coming from my team, and that was my second assignment. Then what I set up is replacement for render layers. I don't think anyone is using. Is anyone using render layers here? Anyone? No one. That's good. Render layers. Okay, that's good. That's good, I guess. Then Arnold, after we acquired Arnold, that's pretty much I was working on the M2A team, and Arnold Core, I was pretty much advising exactly what you have to do or not, and those kind of things. So I was always a member of the team, bigger team for that. MaterialX, does anyone know what's MaterialX? Anyone? Awesome. Awesome. Great. 3 people. So far. Awesome. We're not going to talk about the MaterialX. And then USD. USD is like, anyone USD maybe? I just asked because I really want to know exactly what's happening in Belgrade. That's it. Okay. USD is universal scene description coming from Pixar. Animation is basically helping you to streamline all the scene setup. So when you set up in the scene, when you're assembling the shots. So it's a holy grail of assembling the shots that we all tried to resolve for the last 20 years everywhere. So finally, there's a group of Pixar video and some European guys, a lot of European guys. They pretty much resolve this stuff and they open source stuff. Right? So today we're going to talk about color management. And then we're going to talk about setup, how you're managing your render layers, and then possibly I can tell you what I think we should do next, in Maya, and possibly what we can do next. We'll see what happens there. I choose color management because a lot of people actually are really confused everywhere about color management. It's a science that is really, you can go deep and then you get lost, and then, or you can just get some kind of overview that is good enough for you, and anyway, it's really hard to understand. So I'm going to try to explain exactly a few things. What is linear workflow? Is anyone really comfortable with linear workflow? Is anyone really, okay, okay, just put the hands down. You always put the hands up. I'm sorry. Anyway, so why linear workflow? So it's because devices, it's because a lot of other things, but majorly because devices. So we have, we can create like images with all kind of different devices, like different kind of film cameras, different kind of film cameras. And every film camera is going to give you different kind of output that's going to have different kind of color space assigned to it. So, and then you can have these SLR cameras, and you guys using this when you're creating the your CG work. Or pocket camera. This camera can be used to create anything, like in Maya. So if you're thinking about, if you have this kind of environment, you can shoot this with the different cameras. If you position these cameras on the tripod and shooting it, okay. So this is awesome. So because this is correct, by the way. I didn't know this is going to happen. Or you can get like this kind of preview. It's coming from this kind of camera. It's Sony D60. And but this camera have S-Log. I'm not going to use this. I'm going to try not to use these words. But it's S-Log is actually pretty wide, and it's like this projector actually cannot project those pixels here properly because it's completely out of the range. I didn't plan this, but it happened, which is awesome. So what's happening? Like, why linear workflow? So if you want to use all these cameras, product of these cameras, which is image, like AVI file, like video file, video file, if you want to use them in the same scene, you have to linearize them. You have to put them in the same working space, in the same rendering space. I'm using two words because industries didn't settle down for the word yet. Is it rendering space or working space? I call it rendering space, and I put that in Maya too. So, and I have backup from Academy of Motion Pictures in the United States for that. So anyway, so what do? You have to linearize them. You have to put in the same basket, exactly in the same basket, so you can work with them. If you don't do that, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. So if you do that, you're going to linearize this image. You're going to linearize the second image. Other one is already linearized. So this is 3 examples that could happen. There's more than examples. But what you have to remember, you have to linearize them. So suddenly they look pretty much the same. Yes, they have a little bit different quality and all kind of stuff. But we map those pixels to be in the same rendering space, same working space. It's thinking about the basket. You want to put something in a basket. Yes, those images have to be like it's pretty much in the same level in those baskets. Anyway, if you don't do that, what's going to happen? So let's say you want to do something. You want to destroy something in this shot. This is a live action shot. It's going to be filmed with this camera, and possibly you're going to use plates from this camera. You're going to just project that to geometry, and then anyway, you're going to use something from this camera. Then you're going to they're going to use this camera and another camera. Some producer is going to come up and start shooting stuff and get some information from the set, and possibly you're going to use everything from that. You're going to get all these in a basket, and you're going to say, oh shit, I need this, I need that, I need that, I need that. So yeah, so true things, you have to go in Maya, or for my colleagues from Foundry and Modo or something like that. I'm not going to just say Maya. So use your 3D Max Maya, any kind of software, but you're going to model that in Maya. And then you're going to start rendering it in Maya. So anyway, this original image, this is how it's rendered in the end. So if you look this image, there's a few images here that is actually looking slightly different. Does anyone know right now why it's looking different? He didn't raise the hand. That's good. No, please say something. Okay, so the reason why is this looking different is because I did not linearize this image. And this image is made with this pocket camera. This pocket camera has some one curve. Yeah, if you remember that from before, it has some curve. And then when you linearizing all this set, all these elements, colors, textures, and everything else, all this image is going to be pretty much flat leveled. And then you have to have some view on top of this view transform. We call it view transform. It's nothing else than color space that is going to actually help you to see that on your device. Your device is monitor. Your device is TV, whatever. So what's happening, we're putting curve back just to see that properly on TV. However, we didn't took this curve off. So you have 2 curves on top of each other. That's the reason why is this brighter. Does that make sense? Thank you. Kind of, okay. I gotta go fast. But you're recording this, so you can actually get back. Thank you. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna really linearize the image. So I'm gonna go back just because she said kind of. So that image has this curve. I think I have time to do this because I time myself. So that image was creating with this curve. What are we gonna do? If we're doing correct stuff, we're gonna linearize this curve, yeah? If you don't linearize this curve, you have to back another curve back to see that properly in the monitor. Okay. I'm not sure that I understand. Because they're all coming from different cameras and they're all having different curves. So you have to put them in the same space. They have to be in the same working space. Yes, consistency. They have to look same, because what happened after, if you don't linearize this images coming from this camera or another camera, or if you actually use wrong color space, wrong things are going to happen. The thing is that curve, when you actually, if you don't linearize that image, is going to be multiplied by another curve that you're adding it just to view it. You're going to see that later. So you're going to have 2 curves. That's the reason why it's this brighter. So takeaway is linearize everything. And we're going to see, I'm going to show you how's that done in Maya. And that's pretty much like how a lot of softwares like Nuke is doing this, and some different softwares. Anyway, so all these color spaces that we're talking about JPEG, yeah? JPEG color space, we know there's sRGB, trust me. Some EXR files. This should be in a raw color space. Raw color space means like there's no any transformation happening on the image, yeah? Camera, CS, camera color space, any kind of camera color space, like this camera has specific color space assigned to that camera. So you shoot, when you're shooting this, is anyone from film, what's the FDU? What's the, yeah, anyway, who's dealing with the cameras, make sure you write that when you're actually on the set. Make sure you actually have, for every shot, for every sequence, you know exactly what kind of color space you use, what kind of view transform you use. These cameras will give you this information. And so on, so on. So whoever dealing with anything like look developing, yeah, displacement, they have to be raw. Bumps and normals like has to be raw. Why? Because that's a data format files. You know, when you set up, when you paint displacements, you don't want to change those pixels. They have to stay in the same raw. You have to paint them raw. They have to stay as raw. So I apologize for those people who actually understand this, but this is important. So again, same thing. So how do you do that in Maya so far? So you have this in Maya. If you go to Maya preferences, color management, there's the input color space rules. So we set up some rules already there. So you probably, when you click Maya, when you open Maya, you have to do nothing. But I believe you should know this. You know, I believe that anyone in industry right now, especially in Belgrade, should know these fundamentals because industry is changing and the new devices are coming. So I know this is the most boring concept to learn, and I did it like, so I designed all this stuff. I worked with the most crazy scientists in the world just to make this done. So, and there's only 10 people on the planet who really understand this. What we did in Autodesk, we make this really simple. This is all about this. There's only 3 things you have to learn today. And maybe slightly explore if you want to work with someone in Pixar or something like that. Slightly, not too much. This is the message that I'm trying to give you right now. So, input color space rules. So we have some, okay, I'm gonna use this. So we deliver like at least 4 input color space, 4 rules for the specific images that we know for fact they have to have specific color space. EXRs, you know what? You can paint EXRs in 8-bit, but that's wrong. You should not do this. EXRs is like floating point format, and am I right? Yes. Supervisor from DINEG, anyway, compositing supervisor. So yeah, EXRs should be in the floating point. We know, we already assigned raw for that, and so on. Normals like TX files, there should be specific color space. But if you do something special, create rules. How do you create rules? Very simple. Create name. Rules is based on extension, file extension, or name of the image. If your name of the image have some kind of, if you set up, you can add like specific. If it's bump, if you're painting the bump, just put BMP, and here you can call it out, and just say like, hey, everything called BMP, just assign this color space, which is this. Sorry, this is color space. So what is this helping us in these preferences is that every time in Maya, when you load image, when you use file in node and you say load image, he's going to automatically assign color space here, and that's it. So far, if you don't want to know anything, you're fine, but it's going to work. However, if you start adding extra complexity in your scenes, maybe you should know this, and I believe you should know. So that's things one to know. I hope you learn about like images, color spaces, and in Maya, you can actually even add extra rules for those color spaces. Great. So all these images, they're going to go in that basket that I said. So they're going to go in render space or working space. Like if you go somewhere else, maybe someone's going to call working space. So they're going to be remapped. If you remember those 3 images, how the mountain, how suddenly it's going to look same. That's exactly what we want to working on. So this rendering space in Maya is here. So this is second thing you have to learn. And there's a third thing here, view transform. And then I'm not going to bother you anymore. Actually, I'm going to bother you with one more small thing. So there's rendering space. There's a list of rendering spaces that you can have. Default is scene linear, Rec 09, sRGB. And he can tell me that, but most of the movies the last 10, 15 years was done in this kind of color space. And it's in the last 3, 4, 5 years, big companies slowly switching to ACES. And ACES is Academy color management format that has actually been adopted by pretty much a lot of companies. You guys are on ACES, am I right? ACES, am I right? Yeah. So anyway, the thing is, Autodesk, we already have like what's the name, the representatives in Academy, working with Academy, with the ACES. It's a person who's really working with me every day. And we're contributing big time, which means we're actually updating our tools. So ACES is supported. So ACES is a real huge gamut. It's huge color space. So you probably don't want to use that one. So Academy came to the point like saying like, okay, we're going to make like ACES CG, which is actually fitting the purposes of CG community like. But I'm asking you to explore. I'm not asking you to use that blindly because ACES could be complicated. Default is going to work for you. It worked for industry for a long time, you know. But it's just considering if you want to work with big studios, if you want to follow what's happening in the planet, I would recommend explore that. So then we're coming back to view transform. So thinking about those images are linearized. They look, trust me, very dark, very black. Especially in ACES, which is wide color space, they're going to look very dark. Which means you're missing that curve to bring them back to see it in your what's the name, the viewing space. So we call that view transform, and that's exposed everywhere in Maya where you actually have to see it. In this case, this is viewport. This is Arnold render view. And there's a drop down here, and I'm using ACES RRT V1, recommended by the Academy of United States. Anyway, so this is the second thing you have to know. One more time, if you don't care, default is going to work for you. But default in Maya, it's sRGB, which is matching your monitor. But sRGB color space is going to cut some highlights. So you're going to get surprised sometimes seeing something in your monitor, and then if you go in cinema, and it's like, oh shit, did I say shit? I did. So then you're going to see something, ooh, there's more value in my image. You know, what I say that, we don't embedding this in the image. This is just viewing. You're just adding on the top. You're in linear working space, and you're passing floating point images to compositors. Thanks for being here. So anyway, think about this. This is not baking anything into the image. This is just viewing the image. So, and where is this? This is here, yeah? View transform. So what we learned so far, we have a space rules, we have a rendering space, and the view transform. Anyway, and there's a list of transforms here. By default, it's sRGB gamma in Maya. In this case, because I'm moving myself with this project in ACES, I'm going to use ACES RRTV1. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. Does that make sense so far? Anyone? I'm seeing head. That's good. That's awesome. This is difficult to understand. But it's like, trust me, a lot of people on the planet have been prone to understand. You can watch me on this. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So where is Autodesk screw up? So we didn't finish this project. So, you know, big manager comes to me and says, Nikola, you have no money anymore. You have to move to something else. That's good enough industry. Go ahead. So view transform actually including display that is defined in the operating system. What does this mean exactly? So this means that this is something that you right now are seeing what I'm doing in my jobs, for instance, daily job. So this is current Maya. This is how I, like 3 years ago, said, hey, this should look like this. We should expose the look. And look transform, it's like if you want to apply some artistic view of the current scene, you have this little bit different curve. So your scene is going to be a little bit in different mood. It's going to be a little bit darker. It's going to be a little bit bluish. So you can have that as a transform. So we didn't expose that. And we didn't expose the display. So that display, every time when you plug monitor to your computer, your computer is going to detect what kind of monitor you have, and it's going to say, hey, you have specific color space used for that monitor. And it's going to plug it in. Someone in Windows or Linux is not doing this, and so on. So we actually combine this view transform and look transform into the view transform here. So look transform and display are combined in view transform. It's not cool. You know, it's not, you should have UI who actually you can pretty much select and change stuff. On top of this, we're missing the ICC profiles. ICC profiles is something I'm going to explain now, and this is something that you maybe don't want to know. I will recommend warmly to maybe think to know. At least 10 people here, 15 people should know, so we can just spread the wealth later. Why ICC profiles? And this is important. Like, can you match your monitor output? And this monitor could be nothing else than my laptop. It's monitor. My laptop have a monitor. With Cinema Projector, that's the question. When you work at home, when you work at home, can you really see exactly whatever that guy sitting somewhere else in Los Angeles, and you guys are going to work with them, or maybe it's here in the next projection room. Like, can you guys see exactly same colors? That's the question we want to resolve right now. And the answer is yes, you can see that. ICC profiles can help you to do this. Like, so for instance, there's a monitors like this. This one pretty much I have it in Canada, whatever. So this one have like calibration device inside of the monitor. And this calibration device can help you to emulate a look of the image that is look exactly like a projector that's actually fitting the DCI-P3 profile. Does that make sense? So idea is like, I want to, when I'm looking at image here, it has to be exactly the same when I'm projecting that from the cinema projector. So what are you doing? And by the way, gaming, there's a lot of gaming guys. This monitor can emulate different types of gaming devices. I guess it's important when you designing your game to see exactly how that game is going to look like on a gaming device. Doesn't need to be cinema. Whatever that output, these monitors can target different output, and you guys got to read that when you want to buy it, and you're going to say, yeah, I need that spec. This spec is going to give me exactly what I want. So I'm going back with Autodesk screw up. So there's something has to be happened. It's very simple, but anyway, if you want to emulate, so when you actually create this ICC profile, so the way how you're going to create the ICC profile, you're going to use this like spider, and you're going to read tutorial how we're going to do. I'm not going to tell you how you're going to do this, but pretty much like it's simple. You're going to just basically say, hey, I want to target specific device. Many of them, by the way, already have DCI-P3 as the output embedded in monitor. They have like Rec 2020. They have like BT 2020. BT 2020 is for the HDRs. And so you can probably click the button and just say, select this one. You know. However, my crazy director in LA say like, Nikola, I want a D60. D60 is the white point. A D60, that kind of projected. This is how we're going to project this like somewhere in cinema. That's it. And I don't have that in this monitor. I don't have like, I can select white point exactly how I want with this kind of precision that I really want to do. So I'm going to use my calibration device, and I'm going to calibrate to that target. I'm going to make sure that this monitor can produce this file. And it's very simple. This file, after whatever, 10 minutes, is going to be produced. Then what you have to do in Maya, this is where I'm going back, where Autodesk screw up. So we don't have this option here currently in Maya. So it would be great. I could just put a path exactly what this ICC profile is. I'm done. You know. So what you have to do, you can always go back to this recording, is repeat what I'm doing. So you have to edit. You have to go in Maya preferences, sync color config file, edit this file. When you edit this file, you're going to find this information about graphic monitor. So usually, so my monitor was set as sRGB, so this is how I got it when I first time opened. So you have to change that to the different path. That's it. When you do that, when the next time you load Maya, you're going to actually use this kind of ICC profile. So this, your monitor right now, going to be pretty much like, if you support this kind of gamut, is going to be pretty much same as your projector, or as your cell phone, or as your iPad, or whatever. So sorry about that. I'm going to fix that later. But anyway, maybe in a few months, if I get money. So this is difference between it. When I was rendering this in using the sRGB monitor profile versus the D60 DCI-P3 profile. So if you're seeing, there's a lot of differences between colors. There's saturation, there's like brightness, there's all kind of stuff there. So if you're in position to, which Miloš probably maybe sometimes was before, when someone tells you like, change this light slightly to purple, and you go to the monitor and it's like, I don't see a purple here. Where's the purple? It's like, so you may be lucky you have a digital supervisor who's talking with the RGB values. If he talks like, move the R values, red values for 10%, that's cool, I can do that. I'm blind, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't see the purple. But you're going to do that. So this is the problem, what you're going to experience. If you don't do that, and if you're working with someone who's actually in different studios, and they're seeing something that you don't see it. And that's the biggest problem. So I'm trying to save you of this kind of problem that could cause you a lot of grief. Arnold, yeah. So last 2 years, we spent so much time in Arnold just to make the Arnold color manageable. So Arnold right now supporting all these rendering spaces. Whatever you select, like you will emulate this, you will render it within that kind of selected rendering space. There's so many other things that I don't have time right now to talk about it. But by the way, when you press render, it's going to work. That's the way how we set up, you know. And anyway, so the thing is, Arnold is always converting your images to TX files. You can see that here. He's using TX Manager in the background. You're gonna get pop-up in first time in render Arnold if you didn't image if you didn't actually ever render the first time. If you didn't render your image ever, for the first time, it's gonna convert all these images that already have different color spaces assigned here into the TX files. TX files is optimized format for rendering for the Arnold. You should use that all the time. And I recommend that. I'm saying this because there's a way to not use it. If you don't use it, just make sure when you're finishing your session, just render those TX files. It's going to be faster, better, and you're probably not gonna. It's going to save you some headaches because you're going to forgot to do that. So anyway, I think I'm gonna So what do we? I hope what do we learn here? We learn at least slightly. Maybe we demystified linear workflow. I think we talked about rendering space a bit. Hopefully, you understand that in view transform. And I told you exactly where I suck because I didn't actually finish this like 2 years ago. Cool. Does anyone know what is render layers? And does anyone use render layers? Yes. Okay. Render setup. Anyone tried? Just want to maybe change my presentation right now because okay. So render setup is a tool again. I pretty much designed a tool from scratch, and we finished it. We're still working on it. We're always working at fixing bugs and everything else. But this is a tool that's going to help you to manage your layers. So what are you going to do? You're going to build this kind of. Actually, I already have something here. So we're going to work on this shot, and I assembled this shot just before I came here. All these trees, pretty much like the built-in speed tree, and I just cached them in the Arnold, and I have a lot of caches here. There's a lot of problems here, so all kind of stuff's happening here. Trust me, I did this in one day, pretty much like, and it's so when you're working in production, you probably want to render this guy that's running separately from the background. Maybe you want to render these trees separately because they're always moving. They're very expensive to render, so you want to separate this in layers. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So we're good there. So I'm gonna show you how is this done. So yeah, this is the shot we're talking about it. So so you can see how this guy running. Just because this presentation, I take these trees out, so I apologize that. So just to make not crash or something, I didn't want to embarrass myself. So what you can do here, you can see how is actually this guy is running behind, and he's gonna hide. So let's see how we can in Maya today render him separately, separate from the set. You know, to make 2 layers. Can we do this really quickly? So render setup is here. If you click on this button here, yeah. So this is render setup. So I already pre-built something here, but I'm not going to use that. So we did something extra here, so you can finally have workspaces. You can dock this. So anyway, yeah. So render setup is, like I say, set to help you to do a lot of things. You know, if you open it, it's very clean. There's nothing there. But when you start playing with this, you'll see how it's scalable. What else you can do here? So in this case, like I say, we're going to just create some layers. Something to understand about render setup is that it's almost like a very nice override engine. So when you create those layers, you want to override attributes. But it's not going to help you to assemble the shot. This is nothing to do assembling the shot. So you have to assemble the shot first, which assembling shot means bring all these assets, you know, assemble what you're seeing here. And then, like I say, you're going to start creating layers. And render setup can override any attribute in Maya. We have some problem, for instance, with V-Ray, but we talk with Vlado is going to just fix some stuff regarding how he's treating attributes. So some attributes in V-Ray is not maybe working. There's a small amount of attributes that we don't support. That's dynamic attributes. but I'm going to just show you pretty much like 90%, 95% of overrides working. So I'm going to say exactly what this override means exactly. So anyway, let's create a shot. So if you look here, this is scene. I'm calling that scene. That's pretty much what we're seeing here. That's my scene, yeah. And this scene can share some attributes with the layers. Render settings is always shared with the layers. AOVs is shared with layers. Lights is shared with layers. If you click this button here, you're going to create your layer. So you got to be careful when you're creating layers, because this layer is going to be name of your image. So I'm not going to be careful, so I'm going to just do this. So when you enable this, your scene is going to be empty. Why are we seeing this? This is light. So lights is in by default. Some people don't like it, some like it. Anyway, that's part of my hard job to make stuff everyone happy. So so this button means enable the layer, so we see nothing because we didn't add anything layer. This flag here is just flag that is enable you to render this specific layer. So in this case, if I turn off all these flags, I'm rendering only this layer. If you batch that, if you send that to render farm. Right click, I'm going to create collection. Collection, you can name whatever you want. You should be organized. You should say this is going to be my set all Serbia. Yeah. So collection have two purposes. One purpose is to add geometry to collection. And if you click on collection, you can see property editor. We have a property editor for that collection. And there's a few ways of adding object inside the collection. So this is my objects. And if you see how I'm doing this, it's not a bad idea to look this properly, because there's a reason why I'm named this really nicely, because naming is very important. This is name-based system. It's based on names. And this is going to work perfectly for you as long as you keeping names from shot A to shot B, C, D, and E. If you keep that, this is going to work perfectly for you. Two ways to do it, like drag and drop here. There you go. That's my camera. This is my shot. So I'm going to just clear this just to see what's happening here. Did we miss something? Okay. Where's my camera? Camera main. Oh, I moved the camera. Okay. I moved the camera again. So this is Maya. Okay. So, okay. So this is my shot. So I'm an enabled layer. I just drag and drop assets, character and set. They're part of the layer. If I click to render this, it's going to just render. But I don't want to do that. I want to separate my set from character. So I'm not going to do this. Another way to add objects here is just to write simple expression. So an expression is obviously based on names. So you can click star and then click set, and it's going to add, and this is possibly you don't want to do this all the time. He's adding a set. Why I'm doing this? Why I'm adding expression? Because this is a recipe. This is recipe you want to add. So anytime I'm changing something prior my lighting and rendering in a pipeline, when you have someone in animation, in a layout, he's changing values, you don't want to always go back and change this. Every time when someone move the objects and do something or change the names, like you really want to make sure you don't always go back and just, oh shit, someone changed the name. You know what? If you change the name a little bit lower in the hierarchy, fine. But if you see that I put a star, set star, everything name is set. You can be set 1, set 2, so I don't care. Set Nikola is going to be part of this collection. So I'm really encourage you, especially when you build shot for the first time, if you're passing that somewhere else, even all the time, try to do that. If you're quick, if you're fast, if you want to do something in 5 minutes, just drag and drop. Who cares? You know. So that's my collection, and I'm going to create another collection. CHR. Name this so you know exactly what you're doing. So you don't need to always do that. You don't need to always like look. Hey, what is my collection? So I added this way. So anyway, so if you want to render this right now, it's going to render all together. So, but you want to just maybe render this set. So in Arnold, actually pretty much in all softwares right now, you have to set primary visibility to something, to not visible. So you want to make these characters set to not render, but still cast shadows, still bounce lights, all kind of things. I think it's simple. So currently in Arnold, we changed the shaders in Arnold, like Arnold 5.1, and this is Arnold 5.1. So you have to find your shader, and so there's multiple ways to find shader in Maya. Material attributes, bang. So currently that's in matte Mate. It's Matt. I'm calling it. So you can mat character from there, but you don't want to mat here because he's going to kill me as a compositing supervisor. Because if you have two mats, in the next shot you mat it again, you're going to have a problem with edges. So in this case, you don't want to do that. You want to change the, the properties of the objects, all these objects. You want to change the visibility of the objects. You go to render stats, you're going to say primary visibility off. So you want to override this. So this is the crucial moment. So collections are used for two things. One thing is just collect objects, which we did collect. We collect both objects here, set and character. But then you can apply overrides for selection, and selection that is actually containing collection. So this character, I'm going to just turn off primary visibility, so it's not going to be visible in scene, but he will still cast shadows, rays, and all kind of stuff. So how do we do that? We override that. Why do we override? Because if I do that in the scene level, it will propagate in every layer. I don't want to do that. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right-click here, primary visibility, create absolute override for visible layer. Dude, there you go. So what we did in Maya, so I know already that you guys doing overrides on shapes, so I create automatically, the collection that is containing shapes, and I apply the override called primary visibility. You just have to turn off and see how it's turning off. So if I render that, let's render that right now. So this is Arnold panel. So if you go click here, you can view your scene. So I want you to time something because I'm going to show you something cool. So I'm rendering right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So what's happening right now, he's loading all his geometry in. There are lots of geometry here having like a lot of tessellations, a lot of smoothness applied. So you actually did subdividing polygons a lot. And I'm rendering this for the first time, by the way. Do I need this information when you do the first time? You want to render this pixel fast as possible. So, and by the way, you can see how there's no ship here, shadows is here. This guy is not here. He's probably shadow somewhere here. We don't see it. That's pretty much what we want to do. This is layering. You just create a layer. But you can do all kind of stuff. So if we go back to the rendering settings here, so this is my render settings. If I check my render settings, come on. If you double click here, it should pop up. There I go. It's my mouse. So anyway, Arnold, like any other software, so I have A is M plus 8. It's a lot. You know what? I really don't want to render this with the final quality. Right now I'm testing. I just want to do this like really quickly render. What you can do right now, you can just say, I want to override this, but I want to keep this for the final render. And I don't want to forget about that. And by the way, there's a motion blur there. So I just want to turn off all this stuff. So I'm going to drag and drop this to my set. You're going to say, go here and say, create absolute override. Create absolute override. Bang. Create absolute override. And so on. And on top of this, I'm going to click motion blur. By the way, this should be enabled. For some reason I didn't enable. So usually motion blur is enabled, so you can always pick up these motion blurs. So when you're rendering locally, when you're actually testing, do you need motion blur really when you render? Because that's costing a lot of proc hours. So that's going to be hard to render. No. So you're going to just go motion blur. So my mouse is, and I'm going to, override that. Okay. So what's happening here, we're overriding some settings, and this is my settings here. Bang. Okay, let's see exactly what they are. So I will just move them up, move them down. So anyway. Or I can just even go here because we know we're connected. So you can see how the orange, I can even move here. Let's move it to the 2. And I will disable what's the name, the motion blur. But I actually override that. If I go back to my scene, it should be same. Please be same. Yeah, it's same. Awesome. So the thing is, what's happening right now, this is going to be used if you render that on the farm and anywhere else. If you don't want these settings to be rendered on the farm, you select them, there's a right click and say toggle local render override. It's a session render. If you click that, you see how this is slightly different. So what's happening right now is that this override is going to be only applied to your session when you play with this. When you just want to quickly render, just see what's happening and that's it. But you can do that for anything in your shot. You can apply local overrides for everything. So we can just go and say, and this is important when you're working with the big shots, because I'm going to do this and just, so I'm going to add all my scene here, and I'm going to do a specific thing to that scene. So I'm lazy, I'm going to add like this. You guys write expressions to do that. It's better. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go to my shape, select shape. And then in Arnold, there's subdivisions options there. So we could override this. So in order to override, you obviously have to be in the layer, yeah? So I'm in the layer. I'm going to just say, create absolute override. Okay. So you have to select selection in order to do this work properly. So select, create absolute override. It's doing it. There's a lot. And since this is Arnold, so there's a lot of people working on the sets, and you can do subdivisions with all kind of different way. You can do it Maya way. You can do it Arnold way. This is Arnold way. You know what? I don't know who's going to bring the assets. I'm going to do no matter what. I'm going to subdivide. I'm going to change this subdivision for all different ways because I want to. Can I say this? I'm going to save my ass because I really don't know who's going to work on the shots and how this is going to be like subdivided. So I'm going to go and find the smooth options here for. Oh, sorry. Man. Sorry, I am really bad with my mouse today, I guess. Or this surface is killing me. Anyway, so what we're doing right now, we're going to search for the smooth mesh, and there's a displacement map, sorry, the open subdiv, tessellation. So this is cool. So this object is actually tessellated, is actually subdivided using Maya option, but this character I know for a fact is subdivided by using Arnold options. So we're going to composite for that, create absolute overrides, do it, yeah. So it's calculating in the background what it's doing. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to select those two objects and just move it to 1. So what's happening right now is actually this 0. So we're not going to subdivide at all. So if I render this right now, I bet you it's going to render in seconds. So it's not going to calculate when you run Arnold and it's start loading this geometry in the background in the render time and then subdividing in the render time and then applying these 8 examples when you start rendering. This image is going to be rendered right now in seconds. Why? Because we changed the way how we tessellating or smoothing the objects. That makes sense? And then we set up to even after that, we say, you know what? First, when you load the geometry, don't tessellate that. But then when you start rendering, don't use AA8. Use AA examples 2 or 3. So that's it. So let's try to do this experiment and render this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I click? I did. There we go. It's supposed to be faster, trust me. It is faster than before. Oh, yeah. Yes, this should work no matter what. So the thing is, what I didn't do here yet, I didn't make this like a local override. So if you make this local override, these tessellations to set to local, that will actually not be applied again when you final render. When you send that to farm, you're going to get absolutely perfect render with AA examples, with no this tessellation setup. So think about that. Anyway, I want to show you that. So you guys got it, like layering, this stuff? That makes sense, I guess. Okay. How's my time? Half an hour. Awesome. So what I'm going to do something right now, I'm going to show you this. So this is just a simple presentation what I did. But I'm going to show you this exactly how this works on a project that we actually using in Autodesk. And so probably I'm going to go to the basic stuff in Maya that pretty much in Maya or any other software that you guys pretty much hitting all the time. Can you work parallelly with a headache? I already explained it there, but I'm going to show you really in production shots. Same thing. Can we work with multiple shots in one session? Yes, I'm going to show you that. Another quick first pixel, that's pretty much what I'll show you right now. You can override displacement, motion blur, sampling, all kind of things. I'm going to show you that how that really works with the big shots. And then Arnold standards. So inside Autodesk, we have a project, which is like a 5 minutes reel that's happening for 5 years already. But the idea is just we're testing tools. We basically have really production from A to B, or A to Z, completely to the end. And we're testing everything. We even have art directors. We have art directors painting stuff. We have everything inside. So this is just a glimpse of the project we're working on it right now. And you're going to see we're publishing this shot. So we just went and see exactly what's the last thing happened. So every department publishing something. So we try to use latest of the latest technology when we're using this kind of software. So obviously that's motion capture. So this is our latest technology about the water. It's just the first basic pass. Animation, like this really basic. This is done 4 years ago using mental ray. We scrap all this back and just start again. We're using Arnold right now. So anyway, so it's really, really production proven project. So this is our animation soup, and he's basically testing brand new technology about motion capture.
This is really, really bad. Okay,
you can't hear the sound, but who cares? He's talking anyway.
Come on.
And so on. We're using latest our tools, shotgun. We're using tools to track all these assets. There's a lot of assets we're working on it. We're working with the shotgun team. We want to improve the shotgun project. Like we give them feedback. We tell them, hey, that doesn't work for me. Probably it's not going to work for you guys too. So we try to catch everything before they actually come to you. This is look developing. This is turntable of the character, yeah? So we try to figure out like, hey, we don't have turntable in Maya. Can we build one turntable for you guys? Yes, we knew that before, but anyway. Our director asked us like, make everything work in production. And anyway, if you build some tools, share with you guys. So can you have out-of-the-box tools? Yes. So anyway, can we work parallelly without headache? Going back to my 10 minutes presentation that could have talked for 5 hours or 5 days. Keep your asset names consistent. This is important. When you create your assets, yes, I'm sure you're going to change it. Making sure your name's the same. That's going to be less headache for you when you're creating your pipeline. When you build your tools, when you're publishing your stuff, like keep your names always in the same level as much as you can. I know it's going to change, but then, sell the flag. Hey, I changed this name. It's going to screw up your shot or something. I don't know. So naming convention is important because we're building tools on that, at least this tool. And by the way, if you work with big studios, they do that. They naming, I know that for a fact because whatever. Anyway, I don't have time. So next thing is like, yes, I'm sure you're going to use referencing editor. You have to do that. So if you want to just like keep things flowing in Maya in your shot, use the referencing editor. In 2018, we fixed so many things. There's still things, small things. I'm hoping you're not going to hit it. But yeah, referencing is old in Maya. It's working fine. So you should use it. But idea is just, this is example. Environment set beach double colon. Double colon means, if you've seen that properly here, oh shit. Oh, I missed that. Okay, play again. Is it playing? No. Sorry. Naming question important. Play. Yeah, so double colon means like we improve that selection of namespaces. Whoever's using namespaces in Maya, you guys are going to use it everywhere. You have to understand namespaces. Namespaces is used in many other softwares and is expanding. There's a reason why we do it, because we don't want to have name clashing. So think about that beach. There's a double colon after, then star, which means any namespace after, we will do recursive searches and find it and select it. So you have still option to screw up with the names because everything started with that said beach will be selected. So this tool will give you the opportunity to build your mini pipeline quickly, as long as you guys talk to each other. And it's out of the box. Yeah, and it's for VFX and for the feature films. We have, I think some of the companies I cannot mention the names. They're already doing this. Name your stuff in a way that your artist can really understand exactly what's happening with the shot. Naming is important for many ways. Keep your name consistent. CHR hero. You can have hero, crowds, hair, all kind of stuff. You're going to probably separate this in different names, but keep it consistent. So we, in lighting in backend, we can quickly select that and just, what's the name, and add it in my collections. these collections can be big. If someone screw up the name, I gotta go search and find that and just replace. It's stupid. So anyway, so yeah, I'm selecting, for instance, character and prop. So anyone can switch the prop right now, prior coming to Maya shot, because I'm using pretty much like recipe here, PRP communicator. You know, it could be like even PRP, just PRP. Like, you know what? Someone can add different prop. It's going to automatically be selected there. This is about automatization. Okay. Next thing. Can you render this shot without opening Maya? Maya can take sometimes time to open. Maya is beast. It's huge. DG is amazing, but it has some negative stuff. So which means referencing your shot. Do always referencing as much as you can. But anyway, if you're rendering using command line, which you should probably do, or using some kind of different dispatchers, you should probably use the flags, render flags. So you can actually have the render flags for the render settings, for AOVs, and for render setup templates. So for instance, if you set up a shot, key shot, with render setup, you can easily just suddenly write this like simple line, which is saying run this Maya with this template and use this template to render this shot. You don't need to open Maya at all. You just push this in Maya and it's going to use this template. So what I'm trying to say, you can export this render setup using JSON files. So I'm just writing this here, scene001, shot 00 whatever, 1. Did I write something else? Then I'm writing text, hey, this is my key shot. And I'm writing information for the lighter who's going to use this. So I export that. So you can export template. You can export actually anything from here. Any node you can export and share with everyone. You can export render settings. You can switch between high, medium, low. You can write it immediately and just load it. So when you export render settings, you can say, hey, I'm in layout and I have 50 shots. You know what? You can just say, yeah, 50 shots. Change the resolution of the shot to 0.5K, 1K, and the small sampling. And then it's going to render quick because maybe you don't care for the quality. And anyway, this is pretty much like those JSON files. You can edit them if you want. And this is the quick, fast way you can use it if you're using render command line just to render out and just automate these processes. You can set up scripts and just push it quickly, 50, 100 shots, easily. So next thing, can we work with multiple shots in one session? Yeah, you know, there's no reason. So this shot is just started. We just started, for instance, like, I don't know, a few months ago. And it's a lot of things in progress. All this geometry, it's like people are painting in the background. They're not great. They're not in the, we want to work in parallel. I'm in the layout. I want to work parallelly. I want to pass that to comp. Comp is going to say, Nikola, you know what, this list doesn't like. I don't like these AVs. We're just testing. We're prepping the pipe. Everyone should work in the same time so you can finish on time. If you wait, you're screwed. Screwed? That's the word. What's the English word? Screwed, yeah? Screwed, yeah. You're screwed. So yes, you can use, right now in Maya, you can non-destructively render different cameras. So you can have this one shot and bring in the cameras in, and you can start rendering them. But someone's going to say, like, but Nikola, I just want to slightly move the light for that shot. This shot, when the shot comes here, I want to move the light, so I'm going to have highlights, more highlights here. I want to change intensity there for that shot. Yeah, you can do that. You can do this in one shot right now. What's the advantage of that? Well, you know what? This shot takes like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to open. And by the way, I can easily see how they work together. I can go back and forward and see how they work together. Anyway, how do you do that? Okay, you're going to go in layout. You're going to ask layout guys, make sure camera is asset. Camera should be always asset, which means it's a separate Maya file, whatever you're actually exposing it. So you're going to reference those Maya file, those cameras here, and you're going to suddenly switching between cameras, figure out how they work. And by the way, you're still in Maya session. Anyway, I'm just showing you these cameras right now. But then I'm going to load my render setup, and this is the lighter that is right now working in Toronto. Like, and it's she already like built one key shot, and then she started building these shots around this key shot in one session. So that's her setup. I opened that setup right now. So you can see how she said, hey, this is my layer, camera 190, 180, 160, 150, 120. So what she's doing here, she's bringing all these assets in, and she's going to just try to render them. And she's going to say, yeah, that doesn't work with the key shot. I'm going to override light position. So you're going to always have that one light working for all shots. You don't need to create another light and then export that light. That's stupid. That's counterproductive at all. So what you're doing, she's overriding temperature right now. She's just saying, hey, yeah, for this shot, it's wrong temperature. And by the way, I'm going to rotate this light. You know what I mean? So you're not destructively controlling the lights. And in the same shot. So one light is always in the scene, but it's working for different shots. And Arnold is like physically correct. Engine, path tracer, blah, blah. People will say like, whoa, what are you going to do this? Artistic reasons. I want to do that. The director asked me to do that. So I have to do this. I have to change shot from shot to shot. And this is what I'm doing right now. Look, they're selected. It's been recorded. It's recorded here. Works fine. So you should be able to, with this example, work with multiple shots in one scene. And this is kind of fast and cool. And on top of this, there's no reason you can render this as a file. Some people do that. I know some studios who are rendering 10 shots in one shot. That's the way how they work. You know what I mean? You don't need to set up another shots. But by the way, you can select this layer, right-click, export selected. You can export this and pass it to that shot 120. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just exporting it as a JSON file, and I'm passing to one of my colleagues here, Lyda, who's going to just pick it up this and say, yeah, I have this shot. It works with this shot. This is my starting point. This is how I'm starting. And we all synced. You know, so I'm passing my information between lidars in this case. Okay. And I make a note and all kind of stuff. So make sure he understands what I'm doing. That's it. I'll start it. I'm going next. Render a quick pixel first. That's it. I show you already like this a bit, but this is how it looks like in a render example. So you will override all kind of stuff. You will have like your high, medium, low render settings, but then you're going to start playing with render settings. So you're going to maybe change your render settings to some different value. But then you're going to say, yeah, but I want to have local override too. Why? Because like I say, when you're rendering for the first time, when you're playing with this, with your local machines, with your machine that is not so powerful, like maybe that one in a render farm, you want to quickly see the values, quickly see the changes. So you don't want to spend examples like 5. You want to put like lower. You don't want to turn off motion blur. You're going to find whatever you want more to do. There's a lot of things more to do in order to do this. And there's a top to bottom rule, always bottom always wins. So this is going to always win. So you're going to always have this kind of values applied there, but only for the local render. This means local render. That makes sense. So when you send to render, 5 minutes. Okay? Q&A. Yeah, anyway, that's it. And one thing, use the Arnold standards. You can load them really quickly. This is really good stuff. When you finish with stuff, when you're almost done, if your shot is difficult, use the Arnold standards. And so this tree is really complicated, pretty much like, and think about Arnold standards. I explained here, actually I need 20 seconds. So Arnold, create stand-in. You're going to create stand-in, which you're caching this tree into AS format, which is actually already translated in the Arnold understandable language. You know, so what's happening here? I'm caching these 5 frames into Arnold translated language, if I can explain it that way, which is AS file. It's called AS. I'm sorry, but there's a reason why they did this. But then you can load that as a cache. So the thing is, you're going to see that I will just hide this tree right now, and I'm going to load my Arnold stand-in. You're probably going to reference this into your scene by just showing it right now. So you're loading AS file that I created. That's already translated file. It's going to run like this. Maya doesn't need to translate it anymore. And that's my cache file. Do I want to see the tree? Yes, you can see the tree if you want. But if you have 500,000 trees, if you build an island, which you can do that in Maya right now easily, you don't need to do that. It's going to take your GPU memory a lot, so why doing this? And that's it. There's a few more extra things. I'm not gonna go over that. But anyway, any questions? Oh, what next? But any questions, please? Not you. There's young kids. I work for Autodesk, so it's so search in Google. If you search in Google, what's the best animation software? Whatever first come in, use that. And I think I answered your question. I think so. I hope so. It's Maya, but anyway. Please, please.
So,
So I saw you mentioned you have like RSA, RST flags for the Maya batch.
Yes.
And can you enable them for Kik?
Not directly, but we can work on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not directly right now. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is like, is there a reason? Yeah. The question is there a reason why a company like my company developing two different things, the 3D Studio Max and Maya? I'm glad that you didn't say self-image because we killed that. So yeah, there's a reasons like Maya is really like going in one direction. I mean, it's really great question. Maya is going in one direction, which is pretty much film, multimedia, and those kind of stuff. Max is really like, and historically was like a software that is majority of users was using it like in engineering, like architectures, games too. Maya is picking up over more right now in games. But to answer even more in this, we're trying to actually share the tools right now with Maya. We're doing this with Maya and Max. So for instance, we have a Bifrost. It's like procedural engine that is in right now in Maya that's out of the DG. Like we actually already have Bifrost in 3D Studio Max. We will share eventually color management. I can't say when, but anyway, within Max. So we try to minimize resources we're spending for two softwares. But there's quite a reasons why someone using Max or Maya. So yeah, did I answer your question? Yeah.
So my question is, because you're saying right now you're doing on merging some of the processes between Maya. In the future, will there be only one software, or the Maya and Max will still be totally separated?
It's not up to me to say that, but it's like what we're doing. We actually, if you're following what we're doing, we have a MaterialX, which is like we're joining with the ILM on that, and it's like we're investing this a lot. And we're gonna build something that I'm working in the background, designing the LookDevX is gonna edit that. So that's shading, holy grail of shading. There's USD, which is holy grail of scene setup. And right now we have Bifrost. All of them, they're out of the Maya, yeah? But we have no choice. We have to work with industry in a way because it's not everybody's using just Maya. People use Max. ILM use both softwares in the same way. Different companies too. So Maya my personal opinion, if I can say, Maya will stick. Because DG is quite awesome. Like whoever's modeler here and animators, like yes, we will try to move animation in a Bifrost and those kind of stuff. But it's just Maya as a software as is. It's quite awesome the way how it is. If you go in some node-based system that is actually completely simpler than DG, nobody will be able to use that. Even if you think the Maya is complicated, Maya is not so complicated if you start using it. So yes, we're putting all these components out of the Maya, but we're sharing them with the world to some extent. Some of them, which is MaterialX, but it's just like we're sharing it with our softwares with Max. Yeah. So I don't know the answer, but I'll try. Okay. Anyone else? Or?
Još neko pitanje?
Sorry, but does this mean that right now Autodesk is investing more in Maya than 3ds Max? Because you mentioned that some programs are going to get in Autodesk, but they're in 3ds Max, but they are already in Maya. So does this mean that now Maya has more extras than Max?
Eric, you want to answer that question? Anyway, so Maya has historically had more resources no matter what than Max. We're not taking over resources from the Max. We believe in Max really big time. If you think what I just said, we're basically sharing our components with Max. We're sharing Bifrost with Max. So Max is getting more powerful. So we're going to share eventually MaterialX with Max. So Max is really be very powerful software. So the best technology, what we have, we're sharing it with Max. We just try to be more smart about resources we're using when we're developing software.
Maybe you'll merge them?
You know what? It's like in 5, 10 years, nobody knows. Like, they will look same. Because even from design perspective, I'm working with designers from Max side. We try to make sure we don't confuse you guys. Why will I have to learn Max and then Maya and it looks different? I mean, why? That's bad. Maybe that's the background of the questions. It's going to take us time to make this work, but slowly we work in that direction, where software's, right-click, it's going to be that, this, that, So you don't need to learn every software. You should use exactly what you like. Did I answer the question?
Još neko?
I guess huge Max crowd. Okay, if there's no question, there's someone else coming very quickly, or we're done. We're done. Teaser, but no. Okay. So, missing key workflows is Maya. I'll just say this quickly. I'm not going to go over too much, but I think you guys deserve to know this, at least what I think. Is like, yes, we're missing delayed loads, low demand. If you ever work with complexity in Maya, you will figure out that you're loading Maya in 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 minutes. So it would be great if you can delayed load assets inside Maya, and then maybe on top of this, can you actually override them? Can you, that's something we possibly going to work on. And anyway, asset variation support, can you bring them in and quickly switch between the assets? Some drop down, bam, bam. That would be great. That would be awesome. Delayed render time overrides, material assignments, render time material override. This is something we're already working. I'm not putting it here. It's MaterialX. This is something that we're already working heavily on that. We're already investing this. Something that I feel strong about it. This is my list, by the way. That I share with my Maya team, and I agree, I guess. Smart viewport LOD optimizations. It's something that I really feel passionate about it. Like, idea is just like, you should just basically have frame rate, 20 frames per second. I don't care really what is around this camera. Just show me exactly what is in front of my camera here. And it's like, and optimize this. How far it's going, like change the polygons. You don't want to do exactly what I did right now. Just lower the polygons all the time, override this. Optimize, everything optimize this. We should respect your time. And procedural scene setup, it's a huge thing, always in my head. We're going to hopefully do that. The thing is, this is my last slide, is like, this portion here is already covered with USD. We're working on it. I personally working on it with, it's already open and it's already happening in the SIGGRAPH. We already announced that. We're already working with Pixar and the Animal Logic in Australia on this. Things are happening, things are working, we're working on it, so that's only what I can tell you. I can tell you a lot, but that's pretty much it. This is my 2 babies that I really want to push really hard, so that can make your life much easier. That's it.